By the end of this episode, you'll discover why feedback can trigger such a strong reaction for highly sensitive people, and how to create some internal space before your mind turns it into a story about you. In this video, you'll discover why even helpful feedback can trigger a surprisingly strong emotional reaction for highly sensitive people. How the mind quietly turns a simple comment into a story about your worth, and how to create a small pause before the spiral begins so feedback becomes information instead of injury. Many highly sensitive people genuinely want feedback. They care about growing, they care about doing things well, and they want to understand how their actions affect others. But something strange often happens when feedback actually arrives. Even when the person is calm, even when they're trying to help, even when you agree with what they're saying, your nervous system can react like you're under attack. Your chest tightens, your thoughts start racing, and you replay the conversation over and over. Suddenly, what was meant as feedback feels like rejection. And it's confusing because part of you knows that's probably not what they're actually meaning. And you might even say to yourself, why am I reacting like this? Imagine this. Someone says something simple to you. Hey, next time, maybe we should try doing it this way. That's it. No raised voice, no criticism in their tone, just a suggestion. But something inside you tightens. Your mind instantly fills in the blanks. Oh, they think I messed up. Oh, they don't appreciate what I did. Or they think I'm incompetent. Now let's rewind for a moment. Maybe this happened after you finished a project at work, or maybe you cooked dinner for your partner and they made a small suggestion about the recipe. In the moment, you smile and nod. You might even say, yeah, that makes sense. But later, maybe that evening or the next morning, your mind starts replaying the entire conversation. What did they really mean by that? Did they think I messed it up? Should I have done it differently? And before you know it, the feedback has turned into a story about yourself, and that story is what hurts. When this pattern keeps happening, something subtle starts to change. You become more cautious about asking for feedback. You start over-preparing or over-explaining your decisions so no one has a reason to question them. You become more alert to tone and facial expressions and small shifts in how people respond. Eventually, you may even start avoiding situations where feedback might happen at all. Your nervous system has quietly learned to associate feedback with emotional injury. And over time, that association begins to affect your confidence. You hesitate more, you second-guess yourself more, and activities that used to feel creative or satisfying start to feel stressful instead. This is because the mind has managed to convert feedback into something much more personal. When feedback stings, many HSPs try to cope in ways that unintentionally make the spiral worse. For example, trying to rationalize the other person's behavior. You tell yourself they didn't really mean it, but the emotional reaction is still there. It doesn't seem to help. Or replaying the conversation. You keep analyzing what they meant, hoping clarity will make the pain disappear, but it doesn't. It just seems to dig you in deeper. Or suppressing the emotional reaction. You tell yourself you shouldn't feel hurt, which only creates more internal tension and the hurt builds. Or assuming that the interpretation is true. The mind jumps to this conclusion and maybe it makes you think that there's something about you that's wrong, there's something wrong with me, I'm no good. And you just assume that interpretation is true. Like the mind came to this kind of outlandish conclusion, and yet we don't question it. We just go right along. Oh, okay, I'm no good. And then we start feeling like we're no good. And then we it just goes into a spiral. So here's the interesting part. The pain of criticism usually doesn't come from the words themselves. It comes from the meaning our mind instantly attaches to those words. In other words, two people can hear the exact same feedback, and one person hears useful information, and the other one hears, there's something wrong with me. That difference isn't about sensitivity. It has nothing to do with being a highly sensitive person. It's about whether there is any space between the comment and the interpretation. It has to do with whether we're buying into and believing the instant interpretation that our mind created that is usually emotional and not related to the actual truth. So without space, your nervous system reacts immediately. But when that space exists, something different happens. You can listen, you can stay grounded, and you can decide what the feedback actually means instead of automatically believing the first painful thought that appears. Think of your mind like a translator. Someone says something to you, and your mind instantly translates what it thinks they meant. The problem is that this translation happens automatically. So, like so many automatic translations, it's not always so accurate. And a neutral comment like, maybe next time we could try it this way, gets translated into something very different. Your mind might convert it into, you did this wrong, or even, you're not good enough. But notice what just happened. The original sentence and the translation are not the same. The translator added meaning, and when that meaning goes unquestioned, your nervous system reacts to the translation, not to the actual comment. The sting you felt isn't always coming from what was said. It's coming from the story your mind created about it and what it must mean. The skill we're learning is simply this: to pause long enough to notice the translation before we automatically believe it. Because once you see the translation clearly, something important happens. You realize you're not reacting to feedback, you're reacting to an interpretation, and interpretations can be questioned. The deeper skill is learning how to create a little space before the mind turns a comment into a conclusion about you. To pause, to notice the thought that appeared in your mind after the comment, and to gently question whether that interpretation is actually true. When you can create even a small amount of space between what someone said and what you believe about it, your nervous system settles and your clarity returns, and feedback becomes information instead of injury. Because this is such a common struggle for highly sensitive people, I created something to help with exactly this moment. It's called the Emotional Buffer Builder. It's a short, guided micro practice based on a simplified version of the work of Byron Katie. The whole point is to help you pause when criticism hits and create a little breathing room before your mind starts spiraling. Instead of trying to suppress your reaction, it helps you gently question the thought underneath of the sting. That small shift can completely change how criticism lands in your system. So feedback tends to hit your nervous system like a punch, even when you know the person meant well. And what you really want is to stay grounded and thoughtful and open without spiraling into self-doubt. That's exactly why I created the Emotional Buffer Builder. It's a short, guided micro-practice that helps you create space between the criticism and the collapse. Just go to the video description and click on the first link, or visit trueinnerfreedom.com/emotional-buffer. Enter your details and I'll send it right over.